Hello, hi, namaste. I am Sasi Kumar, and this is day 27 of improving my communication skill. And as I missed 2 or 3 days just because of I was traveling or in my hometown, there is some network issue. That's why I was not able to come online and do our session. But good thing is I have practiced all those things that we are doing from last 26th day. I was reading in without without coming online, and now finally I am in our hostel. So from today onwards, I will do every day this session. And yeah, as sure, as I have practiced some other way to improve my communication skill, and surely from next day I will introduce all those things as in afternoon time. We and my friends and me was practicing for introduce myself like that simple, in which we find some loophole that's makes us confused, means should I aid a strength or weakness or not, like that questions that arise. So now I decided to I will do some session with my friends first, then I will talk to our senior or our friends. They have good knowledge about all those things. They have good communication skills and knowledge. So I will talk to them, then I will come back again here and I will means I will present how to introduce yourself, how to give your answer when someone asks what is your strength or weakness, and all those things. And so this is all about me, about means. Ah, okay, leave it. कौन? अरे भाई देख रहा है, लाइव सेशन हो रहा है यार. ओके. एक मिनट चेक कर लेते हैं. हम्म. हेलो. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen so that you can see what I'm going to read today. Hmm, sorry. I'm going to close. Uh, as we know, as you know, I'm reading Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki, and thanks to Kumar Priyansu, who has given me this book for read, and I will return him back. And as I was doing research, I was reading without coming online, so I have reached lesson number 4, but I have skipped a summary part, so I will do all those summary parts at a one time. So today I am going to read chapter number 4. That lesson 4 is the history of taxes and the power of corporation. One second. One second, guys. Lesson number 4, the history of taxes and the power of corporation. My rich dad just played the game smart, and he did it through corporation, the biggest secret of the rich. I remember in a school being told the story of Robin Hood and his merry men. My teacher taught me My teacher thought it was a wonderful story of a romantic hero who robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. My rich dad did not see Robin Hood as a hero. He called Robin Hood a crop. Robin Hood may be long gone, but his flowers live on. Live on. I often still hear people say, "Why don't the rich pay for it?" Or the rich should pay more in taxes and give it to the poor. It is the Robin Hood fantasy, or taking from the rich to give to the poor, and that has caused the most pain for the poor and the middle class. The reason the middle class is so heavily taxed is because of the Robin Hood ideal. The reason the middle class is so heavily taxed is because of the Robin Hood ideal. 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 The reality is that the rich are not taxed. It's the middle class, especially the educated upper income middle class, who pays for the poor. Again, to understand fully how things happen, we need to look at the history of taxes. Although my highly educated dad was an expert on history of education, my rich dad fashioned himself as an expert on the history of taxes. Rich dad explained to Mike and me that originally in England and America there were no taxes. Occasionally, there were temporary taxes levied in order to pay for wars. The kings or the president would put the word out and ask everyone to chip in. Taxes were levied in Britain for the fight against Napoleon from 1799 to 18. Sorry. Hmm, okay. Hmm. Taxes were levied in Britain for the fight against Napoleon from 1799 to 1816, and in America to pay for Civil War from 1861 to 1865. In 1874, England made income tax a permanent levy on its citizens. In 1913, an income tax became permanent in the United States with the adoption of the 16th Amendment of the US Constitution. An income tax become permanent in the United States with the adoption of the 16th Amendment to the US Constitution. At one time, Americans were anti-taxed. It had been the tax on tea that led to the famous Tea Party in Boston Harbor, an, ex- an incident that helped ignite the Revolutionary War. It took approximately 50 years in both England and the United States to sell the idea of a regular income tax. What these historical dates fail to reveal is that both of these taxes were initially levied against only the rich. It was that it was this point that rich dad wanted Mike and me to understand. He explained that the idea of taxes was made popular and accepted by the majority by telling the poor and the middle class that taxes were created only to punish the rich. This is how the masses voted for the law. This is how the masses voted for the law, and it became constitutionally legal. Although it was inintended, although it was intended to punish the rich, in reality it owned up punishing the very people who voted for it, the poor and the middle class. Once government got a taste of money, its appetite grew, and rich dad said, once government got a taste of money, its appetite grew, said rich dad. Your dad and I was exactly opposite. He is a government bureaucrat, and I am a capitalist. We get paid, and our success is measured on opposite behaviors. We get paid to spend money and hire people. The more he spends and the more people he hires, the larger his organization become. In the government, a large organization is respected organization. On the other hand, within my organization, the fewer people I hire and the less money I spend, the more I am respected by my investor. That's why I don't like government people. They have different objectives than most business people. As the government grows, more and more tax dollars are needed to support it. My educated dad sincerely believed that government should help people. He loved John F. Kennedy and especially the idea of the Peace Corps. He loved the idea so much that both he and my mom worked for the Peace Corps, training volunteers to go to Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines. He always strived for additional grants and budget increase so he could hire more people, both in his job with the educational department in the Peace Corps. From the time I was about 10-year old, I would hire from my rich dad that government worker were a pack of lazy thieves, and from my poor dad, I would hear how the rich were greedy crooks. How should he made to pay more taxes? Both sides had valid point. It was difficult to go to work for one of the biggest capitalists in town and come home to a father who was a prominent government leader. Pro- mm, 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 mm. It was difficult to go to work for one of the biggest capitalist in town and come home to a father who was a prominent government leader. It's take time, but it's okay. Government leader. It was not easy to know which dad to believe. It when you study the history of Texas, an interesting perspective emerges. As I said, the as I said, the passage of Texas was only possible because the masses believed in the Robin Hood theory of economics. Take from the rich and give to everyone else. The problem was that the government's appetite appetite for money was so great that taxes soon needed to be levied on the middle class, and from there it kept trickling down. However, the rich saw an opportunity because they don't play by the same set of rules. The rich knew about corporation which became popular in the days of sailing ships. The rich created the corporation as a vehicle to limit their risk to the assets of each voyage. The rich put their money into a corporation to finance the work. The corporation would then hire a crew to sail to the new world to look for treasure. If the ship was lost, the crew lost their lives. But the loss to the rich would be limited only to the money they invested for the particular work. Was the diagram that follows show how the corporate structure sit outside from personal income statement and balance sheet. Corporation and income statement and personal income statement and personal balance sheet. Hmm, 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 hmm. Personal balance sheet assets goes in income of corporation income statement. then it's go in personal income statement, and expenses means corporation income statement. There will be some explanation. It is the knowledge of the legal corporate structure that really gives the rich a vast advantage over the poor and the middle class. Having two fathers teaching me, one a psychologist, having two fathers teaching me, one a socialist and other a capitalist. I quickly began to realize that the philosophy of the capitalist made from financial sense to me. It seems to me that the socialists ultimately penalized themselves due to their lack of financial education. No matter what the take from the rich crowd came up with, the rich always found a way to outsmart them. That is how taxes were eventually levied on the middle class. The rich outsmarted the intellectuals slowly because they understood the power of money, a subject not taught in a school. How did the rich oversmart the intellectuals? Once the take from the rich tax was passed, cash started flowing into government coffers. Initially, people were happy. Money was handed out to government worker and the rich. It went to government workers in the form of jobs and pensions. And it went to the rich via their factories receiving government contract. The government received a large pool of money, but the problem was the fiscal management of that money. The government ideal is to avoid having excess money. If you fail to spend your allotted funds, you risk losing it in the next budget. You would you would certainly not be recognized for being efficient. You would certainly not be recognized for being efficient. Business people, on the other hand, are rewarded for having excess money and are applauded for their efficiency. Efficiency, as the cycle as the cycle of growing government spending continued, the demand of money increased, and the rich idea was adjusted to include lower income levels, down to the very people who voted it in, the poor and the middle class. True capitalist, true capital True capitalists use their financial knowledge to simply find an escape. They headed back to the protection of a corporation. But what many people who have never formed a corporation don't know is that a corporation is not really a thing. A corporation is merely a file folder with some legal documents in it, sitting in some attorney's office and registered with the state government agencies. It's not a big building or a factory or a group of people. A corporation is merely a legal document that creates a legal body without a soul. Using it, using it, the wealth of the rich was once again protected. It was popular because the income tax rate of the corporation is less than the individual income tax rates. In addition, certain expenses could be paid by a corporation with pre-tax dollar. This war between the haves and have-nots has regard for hundreds of years. The battle is waged wherever laws are made, and it will go on forever. The problem is that the people who lose are the uniformed, uninformed. The problem is that the people who lose are the uninformed, the ones who get up every day and diligently go to work and pay taxes. If they only understood the way the rich play the game, they could play it too. When then they would be on their way to their own financial independence. This is why I cringe every time I hear a parents advise their children to go to a school so they can find a safe, secure job, and implies with a safe, secure job without financial aptitude has no escape. Average Americans today work for 5 months for the government just to cover their taxes. Average Americans today work 4 to 5 months for the government just to cover their taxes. In my opinion, that is simply too low. The harder you work, the more you pay the government. This is that is why I believe that the idea of take from the rich backfired on the very people who voted it in. Every time people try to punish the rich don't simply complain, that they react. They have the money, power, and intent to change things. They don't just sit there and voluntarily, voluntarily pay more taxes. Instead, they search for ways to minimize their tax burden. They hire a smart attorney and a content and persuade politicians to change laws or create legal loopholes. They use their resources to effect change. The tax code of the United States also allows their ways to reduce taxes. Most of these vehicles are available to anyone, but it is the rich who fund them because they are minding their own business. For example, 1031 is the jargon for section 1031 of the internal revenue code, which allows a seller to delay paying taxes on a piece of real estate that is sold for a capital gain through an exchange for a more expensive piece of real estate. Real estate is one investment vehicle that has a great tax advantage. As long as you kept trading up in value, you will not be taxed on again until you liquidate. People who don't take advantage of this legal tax saving are missing a great opportunity to build their asset column. The poor and middle class don't have the same resources. They sit there and let the government's needle enter their arms and elbow the blood donation to begin. Today, I am constantly shocked at the number of people who pay more taxes or take fewer deductions simply because they are afraid of the government. I have friends who have had their business shut down and destroyed only to find out it was a mistake on the part of the government. I realize all that, but the price of working from January to May is a high price to pay for the indemnification. My poor dad, my poor dad never fought back, fight back. My rich dad didn't either. He just played the game smarter, and he didn't. He did it through corporation, the biggest secret of the rich. You may remember the first lesson I learned from my rich dad. I was a little boy of 9 who had to sit and wait for him to choose to talk to him. Yes, in the first chapter we see when the second time means first time they made for a where they decided to work in a Mrs. One Mrs. There they have to work and 1 hour 1 cent like that. So from next time then he frustrated as we are working for 1 cent for 1 hour like that. Then 3 hour 3 cent for 1 hour. So after that they frustrated and they decided to meet again. Then his seat he was waiting for his dad as his dad was in other meeting. So that's the first lesson. I was a little boy of 9 who had to sit and wait for him to choose to talk to him me. I sat in his office I sat in his office waiting for him to get to me. He was ignoring me or on purpose. He wanted me to recognize his power and to desire to have that power for myself one day. During all the years I studied and learned from him, he always reminded me that knowledge is power, and with money comes great power. Hmm. Knowledge is power, and with money comes great power. That requires the right knowledge to keep it and make it multiply. Without that knowledge, the world pushes you around. Yeah. This is that constantly reminded Mike and me that the biggest bully was not the boss or the supervisor, but the taxman. The taxman will always take more if you let him. The first lesson of having money work for you, as opposed to you working for money, is all about power. If you work for money, you give the power to your employer. If money works for you, you keep the power and control it. Once we had the once we had this knowledge of the power of money working for us. He wanted us to financially smart and not let anyone or anything push us around. Oh, sorry. What I was up to? Okay, fine. I was open the wrong page, so it's okay, fine. I'm come to this page. Not let anyone or anything push around us. If you are ignorant, it's easy to be bullied. If you know what you are talking about, you have a fighting chance. That is why he paid so much for a smart tax accountant and attorney. It was less expensive to pay them than to pay the government. His best lesson to me was be smart and you won't be pushed around as much. He knew the laws. He knew the law because he was a law abiding citizen, and because it was expensive to not know the law. If you know you are right, you are not afraid of fighting back. Even if you are talking on Robin Hood and his band of merry men. My highly educated dad always encouraged me to land a good job with a strong corporation. He spoke of the words of working your way up the corporate ladder. He didn't understand that by relying solely on paycheck from a corporate employer, I would be a I would be a docile cow ready for milking. When I told my rich dad of my father's advice, he only chuckled. Why not on the ladder? Was all he said. One second. I'm not going to reply. Just I was told you that yeah, I'm not going to use phones. When I told my rich dad of my father's advice, he only chuckled. Why not on the ladder? Was all he said. As a young boy, I did not understand what rich dad meant by owning my own corporation. It was an idea that seems impossible and intimidating. Although I was excited by the idea, my ex- my inexperience wouldn't let me envision the possibility that grown-ups would someday work for a company I would own. The point is that if not for my rich dad, I would have probably followed my educated dad's advice. It was merely the occasionally reminder of my rich dad that kept the idea of by owning my own corporation alive and kept me on a different path. By the time I was 15 or 16, I was not going to continue. I knew I was not going to continue down the path my educated dad recommended. I didn't know I was going to do it, but I was determined not to head in the direction most of the classmates were heading. That decision changed my life. 20 years ago on the ladder. Today, as technology continues to change the way we work and do business, I talk with more and more people who ask themselves, How can I own the leader? Capitalism is thriving, and the free market system means that entrepreneurs who can offer a better production at a better price have a good chance of success. It was not until my mind It was not until my mid 20s that my rich dad's advice began to make more sense to me. He was just out of marine crops. I was just I was just out of marine crops and working for Xerox. I was making a lot of money, but every time I looked at my paycheck, I was disappointed. The deductions were so large, and the more I worked, the greater they become. As I became more successful, my bosses talked about promotion and raises. It was flattering, but I could hear my rich dad asking in my ear, "Who are you working for? Who are you making rich?" In 1974, while still an employee for Xerox, I formed my first corporation and began minding my own business. There were already a few assets in my asset column, but now I was determined to focus on making it bigger. Those paychecks, with all the deductions, made all the years of my rich dad's advice make total sense. I could see the future if I followed my educated dad's advice. Many employees, Many employers feel that advising their workers to mind their own business is bad for business. Many employers feel that advising their workers to mind their own business is bad for business. But for me, focusing on my own business and developing assets made me better employee because I know I had a purpose. I came in early. Oh, sorry. Many employers Many employers feel that advising their workers to mind their own business is made for business. But for me, focusing on my own business and developing assets made me a better employer because I was because because I know I had a purpose. I came in early and worked diligently, amassing as much money as possible so I could invest in real estate. Hawaii was just set to boom. That were very fortune to be made. The more I realized that we were in the beginning stage of a boom, the more Xerox machines I sold. The more I sold, the more money I made. And of course, the more deductions came out of my paycheck. It was inspiring. I wanted off the employer trap so badly that I worked even harder so I could invest more. By 1978, I was constantly one of the top five sales people at the company. I badly wanted out of the rat race. In less than 3 years, I was making more in my real estate holding corporation than I was making at Xerox. And the money I was making in my asset column in my own corporation was money working for me, not me pounding on doors selling copiers. My rich dad's advice made much more sense. So the cash flow from my properties was so strong that my company bought me my first Porsche. My fellow Xerox salespeople thought I was spending my commissions. I wasn't. I was investing my commission in asset. My money was working hard to make more money. Each dollar is my asset. Asset column was a great employee, working hard to make more employees and buy the boss a new Porsche with before tax dollar. I began to work harder for Xerox. The plan was working and the post was the proof. By using the lesson I learned from my rich dad, I was able to get out of the proverbial rat race at an early age. Early age. It was made it was made possible because of the strong financial knowledge I had acquired through rich dad's lesson. Without Without this financial knowledge, which I call financial intelligence or financial IQ, my road to financial independence would have been much more difficult. I know, I know, I know. teach others in the hope that I may share my knowledge with them. I remind people of I remind people that financial IQ is made up the knowledge from four broad areas expertise. Right. Today I'm going to stop here. From next day, I will start from here. I remind people that the financial IQ is made up of knowledge from four broad areas of expertise: accounting, investing, understanding market, the law. All those things I'm going to read next day as I have read more. And uh, what I as I want to show something, because today I made one website or one app like that things. Mhm. Where what the things go happen there. uh, as we are trying to improve our communication skills, the main thing to improve communication skills, not communication skills means fluency, uh, means correct pronunciation, that things can be done uh, via my website or my app that I created today. Anyways, first we will tell something is I am Sashi Kumar. Then they will translate in Hindi, and as well as they will that website will give you the exact pronunciation that should be pronounced, and also there will one system where if we click, they will miss, sound means, yeah, I am Sasi Kumar, like that. If it's possible, I am going to share you. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. History. Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Sorry, guys, I am not able to share. I mean, as I have done it, but due to some issue or something, I'm not able to show. It's working. Yeah. Uh, this is the website where I have built my web that apps where I turn all those things. But I don't know where I can see that my old project. Subspace, Prava tools, and people playing workspace. I will admin. Okay, it's okay, fine. I think inbox. What's new? It's good, but I don't know where is my work. It's okay, fine. Means today I will do research on this how to use lovable dev for making website and app, and then I will show you what I make, and if it is possible to publish, then I will do definitely do those things, and I will post on my YouTube, and that will also help us and you, and I will introduce more things on that, like some questions that will practice more and more, and all those things for today. And one things I'm going to do, as I have to shoot. Okay. Um, I have. I'm going to do. Just wait. As I am, as you know, I am. So as you know, I'm also following the Winter Eye Challenge. So that uh, I have to share. I have to record those things and then I will share in my Insta other social media handle so that I can continue. Just I'm not going. I'm not. I have no intention to be a influencer or anything. Just I want to discipline to myself. That's why I'm posting every day. As I see when I started to read the reading books on in online mode lab. It's make me discipline and consistency in approx this is going 27th day and means approx 1 month and I'm doing from this. So as I know okay, I have potential to be disciplined and consistent, so I'm going to use this discipline consistency in my other things as well. So that's why I'm going to post every single day. As a few of my friends every day they watched and liked my videos and they told me yes you are doing good, or as you why you miss this day and why do you don't do this exercise today and tomorrow, like that things. So yeah. So should I record? Yes. uh, I will read. Accounting is financial literacy or the ability to read numbers. This is vital skills if you want to build an empire. The more money you are responsible for. Okay, that's the things I have recorded. Um, After that, I'm going to write down our assignment and ah हम तेरे को लाइक कर रहा है क्या? हो गया खत्म हो गया। हम तेरे ग्रुप में है क्या? कौन सा ग्रुप है तू? खत्म नहीं हुआ, खत्म करना है अभी भी। लाइक नहीं हुआ है। लाइव ही है। लाइक है। सेट हो जाओ। क्या बात है? वो हमारा है। ठीक है भाई। लाइव भाई लाइव पीछे पीछे लाइव है। लाइव पीछे जाओ। हाँ नहीं कहाँ से मिला विकास? Okay, guys. Now I'm going to write down our assignment. Thank you. See you tomorrow.